What is happening, everybody, man? Thank you guys jumping into another episode of Expert Mentors Live. And we've got the one and only Miss Tammy Pack back in the house. Tammy, welcome.
Thank you.
So good to always to have you. I mean, we recorded a whole podcast before this. We should have just had record. It was that good of a conversation. We had just little nuggets. I mean, I already got a half a page of notes. So I'm really excited. We weren't even talking about today's topic. We were down other rabbit holes, and that's the beautiful thing, Tammy, is you can take us a lot of different directions, and I'm really excited the direction that you're going to take us today. I had a gentleman on one of the previous episodes out of Indiana around the investment side of things, and what we're really going to get into today. And one of the reasons sitting at one of the rallies, Kurt Shewell's rally in Detroit, the first Detroit rally. And when they, broke everything apart, and he had Mark Z come up, and Mark's kind of presentation, 7 to 100, which is his net worth, 7 million in rental properties, and how he flipped them into better investments, and he grew his net worth and portfolio from 7 million from residential real estate to over 100 million because he got better vehicles. He got into better plays, and some of the things that we were talking about, just talking to our sellers about, getting into a better position, getting, into, where the money is going to be a better vehicle for them. So I'm really excited jumping in and, getting into the investment side, not thinking that, oh my goodness, I don't have the money. There's all kinds of just creative deal structure, creative financing. And that's what I'm really, really excited to jump into with you today, because it's a conversation that must be had with our real estate agents. I mean, we just have insider information. I mean, they locked up Martha for more, we have access to more information than what they put her away for, right? It's really comical if you think about it, but yet agents don't take advantage of those opportunities. And I'm so excited for you to be able to unpack that for us, as you've done this in multiple markets, new markets, second home, what we were talking about. So Tammy, welcome. And I'm really excited to dive into the investment side, getting creative with deal structure and finding those opportunities that are going to be great vehicles for you now and into the future.
Thank you, John. One reason I like to talk about this topic is because to me, it's a twofer. Number one, if you understand these concepts, you can help your buyers, how they can get out there and find and get more creative. Because sometimes you have people who are willing, but they're not sure how to get the money. Number two, never met an agent who didn't watch all these deals going down and watch people making money in real estate and say, I wish I could invest more myself and have more going into real estate. So it really works for both your clients and it works for you. The thing I ask people all the time, and if they're in real estate much, they know the answer. It's like, what stops people from buying real estate? To me, I think the true answer, once the rubber meets the road, the real answer is down payment. It's not the interest rate. I mean, that's a factor for sure. It's not the biggest thing is down payment, because yes, selling real estate, we get good commission checks. We can save that down payment, but you can never save enough down payments for how many pieces of real estate I'd like to buy. Right. As soon as I've saved up one, I buy that. Well, I'd like that one too. Dang it. I got to save up again. So it's just a way of getting more leveraged. And it's like everything else, though. You got to know what you're doing. You got to know. And as realtors, you know this already. You got to know when the deal is so good that you better go find a way to buy it. You got to know if it's a short-term rental, which we do a lot of here in Fredericksburg, Texas. I was able to do this early on because I knew what it would bring in. I knew what it would make. I knew I could cover the mortgage, and I had facts, data, and confidence going to that private lender showing him. And he's like, yeah, this is a no-brainer. So there's no shortcuts in terms of your knowledge, your skill, your practice. Those things have to be done. It's not snake oil. It's getting and developing your skills, your understanding of the market, knowing what you can cover, knowing your risk tolerance, and being able to communicate that in a confident way where people want to back you, basically.
Yeah, I love that. Tammy, take us back a little bit. I don't want to spend too much time here because we've unpacked your story several times here within the expert mentor conversation, but trial lawyer, boutiques, vacation rentals, #1 real estate office in Fredericksburg, Texas. what's the common thread that has always connected it all together for you?
Oh, that's a great question. Probably what I just said. Always doing the homework. We started off selling quilts and gifts because my mom had a little shop on the side of the road selling quilts and gifts. I was practicing law, and she goes, "I make more money than you do, and you're a lawyer, and I'm just got a shack on the side of the road, and you're working yourself to death." I was like, "Well, she's not wrong." So I listened to what she said would sell. We took the leap of faith. So there's the risk, okay? So there's something about, I am not risk averse. I'm fairly risk tolerant. We'll talk about that in a minute. Fairly risk tolerant, but within my levels, within my limits of what I know I can bear. So when we decided I would stop practicing law and would go into retail at that point, I'm like, okay, I can always go back to practicing law. It's always, what's the worst case scenario? And am I willing to take a risk for now? Which I was, and we did it. The other thing, though, was studying. I was better at selling quilts than other people. Sometimes they were American quilts. Most times they were imports. They were bedding. They were home decor is what they were. But I was 27, 28 years old and looked even younger than that. I had older ladies working for me, which was great because they looked like they might have made a quilt at one point in their life. But I told them, I was like, you've got to know more than everybody else about this, because when they come in, they go, "Oh, that's pretty. I'm going to go home and measure my mattress." Sales is sales. This same thing applies in real estate. Same exact concept. I'm going to measure my mattress. I would say, well, that is great. You can absolutely do that. But let me tell you, you've got a king size mattress. It is 78 inches wide and it is 80 inches long. Now, this has a 100-inch drop. 100 minus 78 is 22 inches. Half hangs on each side. I went and got a measuring tape, 22, so I had 11 inches. I said, this is what's going to hang. If you need more than this, we need to go to this side over here and I can show you. By the time I had disarmed the objections, sometimes I want to measure my mattress is an excuse. And if it is, I graciously would let them out of that. But if it wasn't, I said, you got to show them you know more than the girl at Dillard's who's just going to take their money for the quilt in the bag. And I went to Paducah. I went to the where they made American quilts. I learned to date fabrics. I mean, I read the books on, so I had answers for all of it. So it's really kind of the same thing. You've got to be able to overcome those objections and understand your market better than everybody else. Don't take everything at surface level. So once we went to real estate, it was the same thing. It was going all in. With the vacation rentals, I had that vacation rental company for a while, and I started with one property here and saw what it would do. I always consider myself kind of a risk taker, but I've been thinking back over that lately. I think I'm a micro risk taker.
What does that mean?
Risk taker I know I go all out 100% financing on these deals, but it's within a sphere that I know my worst case scenario, and it's a risk I can sleep with at night. I went out to look at a property the other day that someone has, they want to sell, and it's a big development, very expensive. It's out in the country. They're trying to sell off this tiny home type situation. That's a very common thing here in Fredericksburg. I don't know about where you are, but it's kind of exploded. I'm like, what made someone confident enough to go buy a 15, 20, 25 acre tract and start spending all this development for all these lots for these tiny homes? These ghastly amounts of money, when guess what? The next 15 acres can do the same, and the next 15 acres for eternity. You're not special. Your land isn't special. That just this kind of thing that makes me sick at my stomach when I go, because I'm wanting to help them. I'm like, what were you thinking? This is not the kind of risks I take. I take risks that are, okay, I know the short-term rental market very well. For you, it might be long-term. It's whatever you know. I know that I can make the majority, if not all or more, of that mortgage pretty quickly. And I know that if I can't for the first 3 months, all I got to do is sell a house. Selling one house will pay 3 months of that mortgage. So it's a much more controlled. It's not on the scale where it's going to put me under that one investment. And I'm not going to go do the next one until I'm feeling pretty comfortable with that one. So I've done a couple different examples that I think would be helpful. One that I've talked about in the past, and I'll just hit the highlights on it. But I just, in the last 6 months, did another one that maybe 8 months that came out differently. And I think that'll be helpful to share. So the one I talk about a lot is called my Buckhorn Cabin in Fredericksburg, Texas. I bought it. I saw it. It was next door to my house. I didn't particularly want to. This was in 2012. But I'd bought a house, and next to it was a log cabin that faced the side of the house. And I'm like, that is so weird, unless I own it. I guess if I own it, it's not weird that this log cabin is looking at my house. It's weird for other people to own it. So I was like, I need to buy it. It was $350,000 in 2012. That was not expensive. That was not a steal. It It was fair. It was about right. So I had found a private investor by that point by asking. Now he's got a shop on, it's called Credit and Lending. He's got a, storefront, but he's not a bank. So he has a lot more ability to take people's money in and invest it. And they trust him. They trust his judgment. That's how this thing works. I'd found him by running my mouth and asking people, where could I get money for things like this? So I went to him and I was talking to him about it. He's like, yeah, that's a pretty fair deal in that place. I'm like, yeah, but there's the down payment situation. He and I had been talking over the last years. We'd already done this once or twice. He's like, I need 80% loan to value. That's all I'm going to give you. I'm only going to give you 80%. But here's the key. Unlike a bank, he goes, I don't care where you get the other 20%. I was like, so I could borrow it from someone? You can borrow it. You can do it. I don't care where you get it. You can get it from the seller, whatever. I'm like, okay, I can get it from the seller. So I go to the seller. I'm like, through their agent. I didn't have my license. I guess I did, maybe just for myself. So I went to him and I said, look, I'm going to give you full price. You've been listed 6 months. No one else is going to give you full price.
Yeah.
I need you to carry back the 20% down payment. And I got a guy that's going to come to the table with 80%. So you're walking out, you've owned it forever. You don't own anything hardly on it. You're going to walk out at closing with 80% of your full price. And I'm going to give you a note for the same terms, 5-year balloon. So like my guy was charged on 8.5% rent in 2012, 30-year amortization, 5-year balloon. I said, I'll match the terms. I've got letters of credit. It's a small town, call around, I pay my bills. I was like, okay, I'll walk out 80%. This isn't a terrible deal. So it happened every time I've done this at the 5-year mark. The private investor has looked at it and said, well, the whole place is worth way more than the whole 350. So now I'm going to buy that guy out and wrap it all in now. Because you've only paid down a little principal by them. So then he takes it all in. So the seller's out. We're done with him in 5 years. He's gotten his little payments. I wrote off. It's all good, right? So then COVID happens. I thought about selling it for like $795, $895. The main reason I got it as cheaply as I did, the guy was bringing in here's the key. He was bringing in $600 a month in vacation rentals. I knew, added a hot tub, fixed the decor. I knew it would bring in $6,000 a month because I did the work. I've been in that business long enough. I looked at it, I was like, I know my manager, that company's like, oh yeah, we can do $6,000 a month over there. I'm like, so I can make this payment, and I'm not looking for it to pay my bills. I'm not looking for it to send me on trips. This is investing for the future. I need it to mostly always cover its mortgage, and I'm happy. So a few years later, people were too scared in COVID to buy it, and they should have all bought it out from under me, dummies. It's like, Warren Buffett says, when everybody's scared, you need to be brave. When everybody's brave and big talk, you need to be scared. Right. And so nobody bought it at too cheap, and I yanked it in like 10 days. But that same investor, he and I were talking, he goes, hey, I saw you were thinking about selling. I'm like, hey, it's COVID. We're running a B&B business, and we had to give $600,000 in refunds of reservations for the 200 rooms we have in one day. That's the kind of thing where you're like, I don't know how much more we can overcome of that. Right. He said, you got so much equity in that place. I'll cut you a check. I'll do a second on it. And I can cut you a check on Friday for, let's say, he goes, I cut you a check for $177,000 on Friday if that would help, and just do it as a second, same interest. I was like, that'd be great. So I go over there, this great property that I put nothing into. And even I thought I did a big garage sale from what was in it and paid for it all with the garage sale. So I go get the money out. So now at this point, I owe a little over $500 on it. So in 2022, that's 10 years if you're counting. In 2022, the market was so hot, as you know, but I had a sense, not because I'm magic, but because I do my work, right? I'm in the trenches, that it was kind of getting to be like this. And I was like, I might need to sell that thing. And they're like, are you crazy? I was like, okay, let's think about it. What did that silly little log cabin vacation rental bring in? It normally was like a $72,000 a year. I told you, like $6,000 a month, right? In the past year, because of COVID, maybe it would continue, maybe it wouldn't. We don't know, right? We don't have, a crystal ball back then. I said, it brought in $109,000 in the last 365 days. Investment properties are based on cap rate, based on income. How much more can I ask a 1-bedroom to bring in than $109,000? I might better get out of this thing. So I ran the numbers and I sold it for $1,060,000 10 years later. And then the market, again, I could have been wrong. It could have been on a surprise that never ended. It was all fair dealing. It's like you take your risks. A guy comes in and pays cash for it, $1,060,000. So I cash out that other $500,000. And guess what? Then the rent started ooching back down to $850. So he sold it about a year ago, a little less than a year ago, for a full $250,000 less than I paid for. That's nothing other than knowing your market, knowing what the price is based on, and if it's right for you to stay in it or to get out of it. And I said, I'm going to have trouble getting those rents higher than 109. I'm going to sell this sucker. So this is why my mom also always said, I always telling y'all her sayings, she was like, you can't nickel and dime it. You can't nickel and dime enough into savings. It's got to be done in real estate in big swaths, big chunks. Savings is great, but you're not going to get there. You're never going to get what you're looking for without making some big moves. So see, for me, how risky was that move? Some people say, oh, you have all these ideas and you're all, willing to take a risk, but it wasn't the end of the world, that one little mortgage, right? And I knew we could pay that mortgage, and we did. So here's what happened again. My daughter told me not long ago, because I was telling this story to someone, and she goes, yeah, but you sold a few of those now. You really need to buy some more if you want to be able to cash out again. The golden egg, you're selling off the golden egg.
Our kids are great at stating the obvious, aren't they?
Oh my goodness. You're right. So I've been keeping but then prices went crazy, and then rates started going crazy. So I was like, I've just been sitting back and wait. I've bought and sold other things, but I wasn't buying a ton in that whole time frame. I hadn't bought anything in a while. So things started getting rough the last year or so. So in October, one of my agents here on my team had a listing that had been $1.2 million listing in during the COVID. And it was still valued to the tax office for about 1.1. So he listed at $895 because the market's getting tighter and this guy needs out. And we go and we find out eventually, we realize that this guy is about to be foreclosed on. So he's dropping the price. I went on a trip to Japan. I said, when I get back, if that's still available, we're going to have to think about it. We're going to have to do some talking. So it was great because it was a long-term rental and a short-term rental, 2 buildings in the historic district. So a little cottage over here, a long-term rental with a swimming pool. But here's why I was interested in it. Because it wasn't a 20-acre tract that there's another one beside it and another one and 10 miles out and 11 miles out. It was on the corner of Austin and Acorn. It's the heart of Fredericksburg's historic district. I buy blue chip A++. They're not making any more. You will never make another 1910 building in the heart of Fredericksburg. We can grow 15 miles out in every direction. That's not replacing what I just bought. That's why I'm interested. Number one, if it starts with FBG edition, that's the legal description. I know where it is. It's the original stuff. That's where I buy. Don't listen to what I say. Listen to what I do. I buy FBG edition. So it went down and down, and I threw an offer out there at him. Then, so I end up getting this thing under contract. Would you believe, for $775? They'd been crazy price but it was about to be foreclosed, and everyone else is too scared. It's an obvious steal, but everyone's too scared to do anything. Well, the problem, my investor loves this deal. He's like, well, I'm glad to have you back. You paid me off of everything. I need to do some more business, make some more interest. Over time, I've built trust by doing the things, right? And sitting down and telling him about the market. He trusts me. I can make a phone call, and this guy's going to want to work with me. So I called him. I said, meet me over. Let's go take a look. And he's like, yeah, this is a steal. This is a great deal. I said, no, the problem is he's in foreclosure. So it's going to be a little hard for him to carry back 20%, or he wouldn't be in foreclosure, right? So now I'm like, I've got the 20%, but I don't want to use it. I'm going to try to hang on to it every time I can. Number one, shockingly, it needs work. To make it a popular vacation rental and to make it a popular long-term rental that I get top dollar for, I need to put money in it. So I told him, I said, I don't want to put money in it. I got to put the money in it, not in the note. I'm very happy to pay another $872 a month or whatever. I got to get the place fixed up so the income is right. So he goes and looks and goes, yeah, you're going to need to put some work in this. That's what you're telling me. I said, yeah, I am. So he gets back, he looks it over, he calls me, he goes, okay, I'm going to do you the note. I think he said 7.25, way less than I expected for hard money lending, but nothing. He goes, I'm going to do the note 7.25. And you know what? I can tell you want to put most of your money back into the property. So how about you just put 10% down, and in-house, we'll just carry the other 10%. We'll do a separate second lien for the 10%, and you bring 10%. I said, okay, that sounds doable. I'm going to charge you 8.25. I'm going to charge you a little more on that one. I said, oh, well, I understand. I get back and I think, I'm like, still, man, that's still $77,000 that I'd rather build a new courtyard, a better hot tub area. The amenities that I know make it rent, it's better spent there. So I call him back. I said, you know, I think that's still a lot of difference. I still need to put more in it. He goes, okay, all right. How about this? I'm gonna bring 15, you bring 5. And I said, okay, that's good. We hung up. I thought that's still not sitting real good with me, And I said, even if he tells me no, it's going to make a lot better story that I tried. So I got back. It's like an hour later. I got back on the phone. I said, Brian, I've been thinking. I think I think that's still like a little Subaru. That extra 5% is. It's still a chunk of money that I really want to do the wiring. I started telling him all the things I want to do. He said, you want me to do 100% financing, don't you? I said, that's correct. I do. I said, but I'll give you 9.25 on that one. I'd run the numbers. It's like $200 difference. I said, it's not going to affect me. And I'm going to have all the money I need to go put into the property.
Yeah.
He's like, well, I don't do this for everybody. But I said, how can I teach on this topic if I'm not willing to go back and ask one more time?
Right.
Can I have all of it? How about I have all of it? And it's a win-win. How about I pay you a little more interest? And so we did the deal. So here I'm again. I'm walking out, putting nothing in, walking out with my commission check, plus everything else I would have put in it. We have fixed it up. And there were people saying, we'll buy from the table for $50,000 more than you paid for it. And they're like, oh, that's great. I was like, are you kidding? Absolutely not. I stole it, and it's in blue chip neighborhood. It will never get better. I'm buying this for one reason only, to rent the short and long-term rentals, to pay the payments, and I mentally walk away from it. And in 10 years, I sell it for at least $1 million more than I paid for it. Yeah, I want another $1 million payoff in 10 years. And by then I'll be 69 years old. And I want to be able to say, take that, pay off this house, pay off that. Got to be doing something that has that chance of growing. And that spot, it would be shocking. And it might be there in 5 years. But in 10 years, I'm confident, due to all the time I've spent here, that's what it's going to be worth. So see, that is taking a risk, right? I mean, I'm risking that I can cover the mortgage, but it's not the kind of risks where I'm borrowing with people's money at a level that would put me under if suddenly people don't want tiny houses when there's a bazillion that have been built here. They're not building more on Austin and Acorn. So that's what we did. And we opened it up. We got it going. We built a beautiful courtyard, stucco fence. We got them their hot tub, all the things. Both sides are renting. It's doing well. And it's now to the point already. That was October. It's paying its own way now.
That's awesome. As I was just listening to, tell the story, and it reminded me of Jensen, the CEO of NVIDIA. And if you ever get a chance to hear the origin story, like NVIDIA should not be in existence at all. And NVIDIA is the reason that we have AI the way we do, right? I mean, that's why it's the number one company now on the planet. He had a wrong product he was building, took the investor money. They knew they were wrong. They missed it. They were just wrong. And he had to go back to the original investor and basically tell them, listen, we got to stop. I can't fulfill on what you paid for. However, I can't give your money back, and I need you to give me more money. So basically the guy was like, are you out of your mind? And he said, maybe, but here's where we're wrong. Here's how we're going to fix it. Here's what we're wanting to do. He said, okay. Called him the next day, gave him 2 to 3 times more than what he was asking for. And he said, sir, how come? He goes, because I don't believe in what you're doing. I believe in you. How important, because what I'm listening to you is you've built up so much goodwill in your market that the investors are betting on you more than they're betting on the investment. How important is your brand, your reputation, you? And then what are the things that, like, an agent listening to this is like, okay, I have to focus on being a good human and doing these things to be valuable to where people want to invest in me more so than the investment in the investment opportunity. Can you touch on that a little bit, Tammy? Because that's what I'm hearing when you're talking. That's going through my mind. I'm like, oh my gosh, she's done a great job.
So right. You're so right. And that's especially important in the beginning, because that's when they're making that NVIDIA the second investment, right? And then as it starts to pay off, and now you got a 12, 15-year track record of not missing your payments, it gets easier and easier. But in the beginning, you definitely start by knowing more than everybody else and being able to explain it and show that you know more and catch their eye. Jay Kinder was here a few weeks ago doing a Zoom in our front office. He said, "Can I borrow your office? I'm driving through town." I said, "Heck yeah, go for it." And sitting there and listening to him, I'm like, you know, when you're listening to Jay, he is just such a fun guy, the kind of guy you'd want to hang out the lake, you know, down on guy. And I've told people, I said, but he catches you unaware, because the minute he starts talking about real estate, if you have any sense, you can figure out in about 3 minutes that he knows more than anybody in the room. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't take long to figure out that no matter what they're throwing at him, what the questions are, he's confidently answering them, and he knows it. There's no substitute for knowing it.
Yeah.
Right. So once you can come in and say, "Oh, Mr. So-and-so, you haven't met me yet. We represent this many vacation rentals. Here's what the average ones do. Here's all our numbers across the thing." And you start speaking with, and my goodness, how easy is it to do today versus what it used to be? Yeah. You have podcasts you can listen to, your vocabulary, your understanding. They will quiz you. They'll test you when they first learn. And if you don't know some of these things, it may not be a no. It might be a you're not ready yet.
Yeah.
Because they're going to expect you to know, and you can learn so much more. I've got up here in my cabinet, I bought it on eBay to make videos about. It's a copy of what I used to really have. Carlton Sheets, no money down. It was an infomercial, if you're old enough to remember. You come on at midnight or whatever. And
gotcha.
Carlton Sheets. Literally, of course, I got rid of it over the years. I got on eBay and bought a copy so I could show
of course.
people. And you know what? The best thing about that is I took all of that in, and it took me years before I figured out how to cobble together enough to get the investments going and buy some properties. But it opened my mind to it can be done. It is being done. Other people are doing it. And though maybe the idea he gave is not anything I ever implemented, but I realized then people are doing it. And you don't have to go get a VHS tape and a workbook like I did. You can listen to the Tax Smart REI podcast. You got bigger pockets. You got things that can feed your mind 24/7. If I'm decorating Christmas trees, I've got real estate podcasts going that are, I'll hear a new idea. I'm like, well, I hadn't thought of that before. Well, that's brilliant. Well, I love that. And you don't implement all of them, but they start to open your mind to think, well, yes, I can. If somebody did, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, he said, don't say you can't afford it. Say, how can I afford it? And then talk to people that are where you want to be. Mm-hmm. Watch podcasts like this. And then there's people that are a million miles ahead of what I've done, but we've also all got our risk zone and understand that you can take a leap, but that doesn't mean buying part of an apartment complex. I had someone else come to me a few years ago and say, we're going to develop some land. We got, X acres and and my husband, Wes, he was like, oh, that'd probably be good. Land's great. I was like, nope, not interested. He's like, what? Why not? I said, it's out of my wheelhouse. I don't know enough about what I'm doing. Now, does that mean you can't go outside of your wheelhouse? No. Look at your age, your liquid assets, all those things. But I was like, I don't know enough about that. And I have zero interest in getting involved. If I've got more free capital, I want to buy more of what I understand deeply. And so we said no. And guess what? They have just about sold all that out, but it took them about 4 years when they thought it was going to take 6 to 12 months because the market shifted. And we would have been caught all up in that. And I'm like, there'd been nothing wrong for the right person to make that investment, but it was not right for us. And I was like, those are the kind of investments I'm just like, I'm sure it's great. And I'm trying to help you find somebody good, but I'm the gal that buys the little cottage. There's one right now I'm looking at. It's about $1 million. It's got 3 SDR permits. All the ordinance changes, you can't get SDR permits. It's about 3 buildings down from the one I already bought. It's on the best of the best location. It's got a house up here and one in back. I know what it'll make. So I'm kind of waiting to see, and if nobody else buys it, I kind of want that seller out there to get a little more aggressive and to where he might like the idea of it. And I don't want to, my poor guy, I don't want to go back to him that quickly and tell him, let's do another 80-20. This guy will carry it out. But I'm looking. Looking. So the most important thing you can do is listen and learn. Oh my goodness, just having something like a Bigger Pockets on all the time and hearing about the people who came from nothing and figured out how to go get into real estate. You hear it every day. You're like, well, it can be done. And then start slowly looking for opportunities, asking questions. Who in our area? Who have you used? Who do you know? Because someone gave me that recommendation the first time. And after that, we've been thick as thieves ever since. The first, we bought a commercial building that my ex-husband's, my daughter's dad, good friend of mine still, his parents loaned us the 20% down payment on our downtown building. And I didn't want any favors. We paid them the exact same interest rate on a 15-year note 100%. That we ran that guy. And we're like, this is more than you can get on a CD. They said, sure is. So we went in, did the deal, sold that one for so much more later. It's just finding someone that can be a little more, creative with the terms because they don't have the same regulations. Or if you can't find that person, then you start saving those commissions, and you take a commission or two and you put it as a down payment. And now when you go looking for creative, you've at least got a track record on one. It's not the first one, right? That first one's the hardest one to get. So starting small like that, I think is the way to go, and just seeing what your comfort zone is.
Yeah, I love that. That's so good. And I imagine you became a student. I mean, just obviously through being a lawyer, always obsessed, just diving deep. But like you mentioned Jay, and I tell this to all young, I don't say kids, I say kids now, young kids getting into anything, is like, nobody's going to take you serious until they take you serious. And you have to spit the game. You got to know what you're talking about. And for Jay, his whole thing, getting licensed at 19. So he's in the room with, 30, 40, 50-year-old, they've been playing the game for a long time. They're like, oh, you're a cute kid. This is great. Good luck. Attaboy. And then, they listen to him like you did. And he starts talking about the market, spitting the game. And they're like, whoa, this kid's different. And that was like one of the biggest lessons that I picked up on really quick when, Jay and I started working together. And that was one of our things, man. It's just like, you got to be knowledgeable. That's where the whole expert advisor came from. You got to truly be the expert in the room. And you've done it very, very well as well.
And you got to know how to spin it too. As you're saying that, I'm thinking, when we first started, the great thing, we started in real estate, we're older. So I have people that are either talking to me about going back to law school or getting in real estate older. I said, well, the good news is the minute you start practicing, they assume you've done it for a long time because you're older. Yeah. So young or old, there's a plus or a minus. But, we were new. We weren't young, but we were new, starting off in real estate, a new company, clearly in a small town. That wasn't a secret to anybody. So I used to use the line in my first year would work great for younger people. I said, there is a lot of great firms in this town, and they have been around forever. And I said, that's just huge for them that they've been around forever. But you know what the downside is? They've been around forever. And they would laugh. And I was like, you know how hard it is to change with the market, to adapt new ways when you've been doing it forever?
Yes.
And so I said, we're fresh. We are looking for cutting edge. We are not interested in putting, and I would tell people in 2015, we started, there was a real estate agency in Fredericksburg. On the cover of their website, the home page was a coupon. It said 10% off, no, $500 off closing costs. And it had a dotted line. I said, I guess you're supposed to print it and clip it and bring it to closing. And I was like, this is what we were up against. So I was like, you take whatever you got and you flip it in terms of if you're younger, if you're newer, it's like, yep, that's right. Cutting edge, all the new stuff. We're not going old school. If what you got is old school, it's like, we've got the relationships. We have the knowledge. We're staying cutting edge. You say whatever and make it true is whatever you got going for you, right? My daughter.
That's it.
Is 20. Did she just turn 29? Yeah, she just turned 29. I can't believe that. Just turned 29, got her license. She was 19 or 20. I think she was 20 when she got it. And same thing, she's the number one agent in our town. And she said right now, she goes, I just did the math before she just got some more life. She goes, I got 16 listings at the moment with a total market value of $16.5 million.
That's so awesome.
At that age. But she goes, you know what? But I know what I'm doing. I'm good and I'm confident. She definitely shows a lot of confidence. And you're going to laugh at this. She's had a couple people call her from her bios. Everybody get in your stinking bio and clean it up, make it better. Talking to myself, right? It's never enough. She goes, I've gotten 3 leads this week. I think 2 sellers and 1 buyer who found me online, read my bio, asked ChatGPT, all the stuff, who's the best. And they all call me directly. She goes and talks with one of them. And he goes, well, I'm about 30, 35 years older than my wife. And we want somebody young. He goes, older people, I found, man, they just tend to judge. They're just so judgy. I'm tired of it. And he goes, I know a younger person just really doesn't care. So she goes, that's right. She goes, well, my boyfriend's 14 years older than me. So you're right. Who cares?
Yeah, who cares? Who cares?
There's a way to spend whatever you have. I'll never forget when Wes and I, again, small town, they know we're just starting in real estate. So we go to a listing appointment with this guy who knows of us in the community. We kind of know of him. And so he goes, how long have y'all been in real estate? I said, man, when weren't we in real estate? I bought my first house when I was 22 years old. Can you believe that? And you know what? I sold that and I just twisted the subject.
Yeah.
And because he was mostly, now he could have said, follow up, what year did you get your license? He just wanted to see how I handled things. And I was like, my whole life, I have loved real estate. The first thing I couldn't wait to do. And I've been buying and selling ever since. Had my license for a while. We just now decided to open the company. And then we just kept moving on to the next topic.
Yeah, 100%.
Half the time, people don't realize. Back when we had the quilt shops, the retail in the beginning, it's the same thing. Like my mom said, sales are sales are sales. If you can sell, you'll never go hungry. And they would come in and they would say, where'd you get all these quilts? That's what everyone said. That just like they may ask you, if you look young, how long you been doing this? There are certain things you need to learn are just easy conversation, and people say them because it's obvious. If you walk up to a 6'9" tall guy, my mom used to say, don't ask if he played basketball. He's been asked that 18 times today already. Yeah. Don't say the obvious. But they'd come in, where'd you get all these quilts? And so we would joke and say, I made them all last night. Look at my hands. They're all wrinkled. And they would laugh and go on because they didn't care. It was conversation. Yeah, my employees at first didn't know that. I had to teach them because they'd come and go, where'd you get all these quilts? They'd be like, well, a lot of them come from China. I mean, I'm sorry. Because to make them affordable, we don't have them. And they would just word vomit all of this stuff that they were projecting. And that person's like, okay. And so I had to teach them. I'm like, you're killing sales. I was like, stop it. They are just making conversation. So whether it's your age, whatever it is, this concept, apply to yourself. It applies. They would come and say, where'd you get all these quilts? I said, the answer is, oh my goodness, we get them from all over the world. We got king size over here. Are you looking at that? Or you think about queens? So I diverted. Now, if by any means, I'm never saying don't be honest. If they said, no, but where are they made? I would tell them all they wanted to know. We'd talk all day. But what I learned is 98% of them were just making conversation.
That's it.
So answer quickly, turn it around and say, hey, have you looked at that new subdivision out there? Because I'm really excited. I just sold 3 in there in the last couple of months. Do something to start putting. If they're asking, looking at your age, turn that thing around in a positive way and have it ready. So where you start showing them you've got experience and you've got things, and don't start in the, well, I did just get my license. So if you want someone else, I understand. And I promise you, there's people out there saying that. Yeah. There's agents out there because I watch it. They don't know what to say. They don't know how to sell themselves. And that person might've just been making chit chat.
100%. So Tammy, that's it. That's such a great point. I mean, that insecurity creeps in. So how do you coach your agents through that? Right. Because that is
you know too much. You know too much. So you're projecting that onto them. You know that somebody else in the office has sold more than you. You know that they don't really care about it. That's not in their knowledge wheelbase, right? So you've got to find your confidence. It's all ask them. I'll say, so you think another agent would do a better job for them than you? Well, no, I treat my clients very well. Okay, can we start to show some of that? Some yahoo down the street, do you think they should go use them? Would that be a better choice? No. Then start to project. And then sometimes agents get too much into black or white. It's this or it's this. There's almost nothing in life that's black and white. There's 1% here and 1 there. 98% is in this middle. And learning how to talk to people, and it never stops. I'll give you a little bonus because this just came in today. I haven't even made a video on it, but I'm going to. So there's a guy on TikTok that I'm obsessed with. It's called Next Door Jeweler. Next Door Jeweler. He's this dude up in New York that talks about diamonds, and I don't care what he's selling diamonds. Sales is sales. It's same as real estate. And I told my agents, if you follow him, if you learn to talk like him, you will sell more, because he's like, yep, doing it 38 years. Yep, this is what it should cost here. But he goes through his explanation so beautifully. I said, if I ever am in a position, I want to get a new wedding ring, an upgrade, I want to go to New York and see this guy because I trust him, because he gives you specifics. So he pulls out this chart immediately in his videos. He's like, okay, you got this is the diamond color scale, right? He goes, okay, we don't need to be higher than an I unless your budget is unlimited. That is pretty flawless to the naked eye. Now, when we look, VS2 is the lowest we will ever go, but 15% of those have occlusions that the naked eye can see. So you need the right jeweler who's looked at it to tell you that this VS2 is the right one for you. This we will never accept less than excellent right here. And carats, it's going to, therefore, for the price you set of $10,000, it's going to put you right there. That's what this slider is going to do. So I watched him do that and started talking to my agents. I said, learn to speak with the confidence. He does that. I'm like, He didn't ham and haw. Let me give you a list of all these lenders, a list of all these inspectors with no opinion because I'm so scared I'm going to get sued. You're their advisor. Say, hey, I'm doing my due diligence. Here's the thing, blah, 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 blah. Now, let me tell you who I'd use. Just me is what I would do. And that's what they want. They're so sick of having to self-serve and figure it out.
They want to be told what to do.
Don't go below I. Unless you have really dark skin, you might be able to get away with a J and it'll blend. Okay. All the specifics, I know he's not just shining me on. I can listen for 3 minutes, 3 videos, and I know he knows what he's talking about. Yeah. So I got this because guess what I'm going to do in real estate? For buyers, I'm going to be like, I'm going to change the categories to location. I'm going to have condition, square footage, and price. Oh, you want it to be in perfect condition. You need maximum square footage. Then we got to give on location. I can't get you in the historic district if you're not willing to move your budget from here. All the sliders that we get to work.
So good.
Well, that'd be great.
Oh, that's so good. I love that.
So go out there and find people that sell and recognize that guy's selling jewelry, but look up next door jeweler and just see the confidence. And you can tell he's not going to pressure you. You know, he's just there with knowledge. And if you want to buy a diamond, that's the kind of guy you want to buy it from, because I know he's going to tell me. He's not going to say, well, it's up to you. Now, here's some, he's going to be like, I don't want to see you go below an I.
Matter of fact. It's a matter of fact.
And he's not forcing me, but he's making me confident. My ex-husband one time in sales, I use this all the time too. Before he met me, he goes, man, I went into this store. He goes, I was so stupid before we were in retail. He goes, I walked in, I told him I was looking for a lifetime boot. He goes, what's a lifetime boot? You know what, boots go last 70 years. But he said that salesman didn't miss a beat. He goes, all right, I already tried them on. I liked it. He goes, yep, that's what you got right there. It's a lifetime boot.
Yep.
And he goes, in sales, we really want to be assured that what we're already liking is good. Yeah. If that guy said, well, I mean, I don't think anything's really going to last a lifetime and you might have to do some work on, these are all obvious facts, right? But it's the way of saying that's as good as you're going to get right there. That thing's going to be with you for many years to come, and move the conversation on. But I know so many people that are black and white that be like, well, now I'm not guaranteeing that this is a lifetime boot. He might have still bought the boot, but you kind of ruined the experience.
Yeah, that's it.
You made it less fun.
You nailed the word. You made it's the experience. It
is right.
So good. Tammy, we could go on for days. I definitely am looking for my mama said book. I think that is your ticket right there. That might be your best investment.
You're probably right. Well, I will tell you this. It's been a while since we've done one, and I think I've probably already done this at some point, but there's a whole lot of her in my book, Stop Waiting to Die. Yes. And you will see a lot of mama-isms. Not all the business ones, but a lot of them. Here's how I knew when it was time I was finished with the book. I would put it down for 6 months, and I'd come back, and I'd start reading. I was like, oh, I should tell this story. I'd type out that story, and at the end of it, 2 pages later, I'd see that story was already in there. I'm like, okay, clearly I've said what I have to say. I'm done.
So good. Tammy, where can folks get a copy of your book?
On Amazon. So Stop Waiting to Die is on Amazon. I think the ebook's 99 cents or something because very inexpensive. I also recorded the audio version of it, narrating it myself, which is fun. And they can find me on Instagram, Tammy Pack Talks, or just Tammy Pack on TikTok and anywhere else.
I love it. Tammy, you're amazing. I love watching you guys, what you're up to. Man, just an absolute, just the knowledge and, the little sayings and the way you're able to frame things that people can connect with and relate to. And really I think the word you said there at the end, right? It's the experience that you're able to curate for the clients, for yourself, and really just, doing the best that you can. And it's always just awesome tapping in with you and kind of what you're up to. But, man, so many great things. Guys, get a copy of Tammy's book, connect with Tammy, follow her all over TikTok and Instagram. And Tammy, we can't go a year and a half, 2 years without doing this.
No, I was just thinking, matter of fact, we need to do another one soon. I actually, if this is something people end up being interested in, Labor Day, I decided to really go all in on video on my followings. So on Instagram at Labor Day, so I started on September 2nd, the day after, I had 9,400 followers on Instagram, which I'd had for years. I could not get off that number no matter what I did. And I'm between 51 and 52,000 as of today, all free, no money spent, all organic, doing it the right way, not buying any followers. And on TikTok, I had 800 back at Labor Day, and I'm at 28,500 on there. Yeah. And I've got some real strategies we can share whenever you guys want to.
We will do this again just to get that. Absolutely. In fact, you know, it's wild. I think one of the first conversations that you and I had was around the strategies around just growing Facebook that we were talking about. So
36,000 on Facebook. I didn't even know that was a thing yet on Facebook. That's what happened awesome. At the same time. It went from my 5,000, 7,000 to 36,000 on Facebook, all by being very intentional. And we can talk about that next time.
We will. Absolutely. Tammy, like I said, we can go a lot of different directions. You're just an absolute treat. I can't thank you enough for carving out the time and really embodying what this whole expert mentor series has been about. And again, thank you again. And guys, get connected, plug in with Tammy, and we'll catch you guys on the next episode. Thanks, Tammy.
Sounds good. Thank you.
All right. We'll see you.
Bye.